Officer down in Colorado Springs.
4-7 submit.
You be medically here now? I got an officer down. Hurry up, get up here. Oh, 18, you got a gunshot wound to the head. Get him here now.
5-year veteran officer Cem Duzel shot and gravely wounded while responding to a call early this morning. We've got an update on his condition.
We are tracking a stormier Friday. Expect showers and thunderstorms to continue throughout the day. I'll let you know if we could see any weekend storms coming up.
You're watching KRDO News Channel 13, where the news comes first. Your news starts right now.
And thanks for choosing News Channel 13 at 6 o'clock. I'm Bart Bedsole.
And I'm Dana Clemens in for Heather Scold. Tonight, Officer Cem Duzel and accused shooter Karrar Al Khammasi are both in the hospital after a shootout between the two early this morning.
Here's a map of the area where the events took place, near Platte and Union, east of downtown. And here's a quick overview of how it all unfolded today.
It was a call for shots fired that brought police to the 2300 block of East Boulder. 5-year officer Cem Duzel was first on the scene, and investigators say as others arrived, the suspect pulled a handgun, prompting an exchange of gunfire. The injuries to the suspect, identified as Karrar Al Khammasi, not life-threatening. Duzel was shot in the head.
You be medically here now? I got an officer down. Hurry up, get up here. You got a gunshot wound to the head. Get him here now.
Duzel was rushed to Memorial Hospital just blocks away in critical condition.
Please keep Officer Duzel, his family, and the Colorado Springs Police Department in your thoughts and prayers.
The shooting shut down a large scene for hours, with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office taking over as the lead agency charged with piecing together what went wrong and why.
We will process the scene, interview the witnesses, and that will give us a better picture and understanding of what happened today.
And now to our team coverage. Our staff is spread out across the area east of downtown to break down the many elements involved in more detail.
And we'll begin with Scott Harrison. Scott, we know the identity of the suspect, but we are still waiting to learn why he fired those shots that brought police in the first place.
Yeah, that's right. We are still waiting for some more details about this shooting to happen. Now, right here in this block where I'm standing, in this concrete area here, is where that violent confrontation between armed suspect and responding police officer happened. And 12 hours later, all of the crime scene tape is down, all of the barricades are down, the streets have reopened, and authorities can move on to the next step in trying to piece together this shooting. This is a Facebook photo of the police shooting suspect, Karrar Al Khammasi, 31 years old. Police began tracking him near Boulder and Union just before 3 a.m.
Didn't see the suspect fire, but saw the suspect put the gun in the waistband.
The Colorado Springs Police Department Dispatch Center received multiple calls of shots fired. When officers arrived on scene, they did encounter the suspect. Additional shots were fired.
When it was over, Officer Cem Duzel was shot and in surgery, fighting for his life. Al Khammasi's injuries are not life-threatening. Many people we spoke with who drove or walked through the area on Thursday say they're surprised the shooting happened here, so close to the Olympic Training Center and Memorial Hospital. It's an area they say that's peaceful and rarely violent.
Well, down that way, it's always kind of bothered me, but right here, we've all been fine. I've worked here for 3 years and have no issues.
The police risk their lives every day to protect us, so I'm thankful to them and I'm heartbroken that this happened.
A community in shock, a police department praying for an injured comrade, and a suspect who still has more questions than answers about him. And some reports about what happened leading up to this shooting have yet to be confirmed by the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, the lead agency in this investigation. But we'll continue to follow the story, and as we get new information, we'll bring it to you. We're live on the east side of Colorado Springs. Scott Harrison, KRDO News Channel 13.
Thank you, Scott. Moving now to Memorial Hospital Central, where both Karrar Al Khammasi and Officer Duzel are getting treatment. The hospital is a level 1 trauma center. It treats severe and complex injuries like the gunshot wound sustained by Officer Duzel. Memorial is located just blocks from the scene of the shooting, meaning the injured officer was able to get quick access to the highest level of care without having to go to Denver. KRDO News Channel 13's Crystal Story joins us live from the hospital now with the latest on how Officer Duzel is doing. Crystal.
Yeah, Dana, we learned just over an hour ago that Officer Duzel was in fact in critical condition. That tells us one really important thing is that he's still alive and fighting through those injuries. We have been right in front of this hospital for the last almost 12 hours now. We don't know where Officer Duzel is in the hospital, but we do know tonight that everyone in this community is thinking of him. There's a lot of uncertainty for Officer Cem Duzel. Early this morning, he was hit while responding to a shots fired call, a response Chief Carey says is top priority.
When the police department gets calls of shots fired, we go and we check it out. That's a priority one call for service. And officers did their job in uniform, got there pretty quickly.
That's where he was gravely wounded. We believe he was struck in the head and rushed into surgery at UC Memorial Hospital.
When officers arrived on scene, they encountered an armed suspect, and there was an exchange of gunfire. Cem Duzel, a 5-year veteran of the Colorado Springs Police Department, was critically wounded. He sustained a gunshot wound.
Officers were seen parked in front and then leaving the hospital to show their support for yet another law enforcement officer who was hit in the line of duty.
This has been an extremely difficult year with law enforcement officers being hurt or killed, in particular in our region. Please keep Officer Duzel, his family, and the Colorado Springs Police Department in your thoughts and prayers.
We still don't know exactly what injuries he's facing or what the road to recovery looks like. Now, of course, because the crime scene was so close to the hospital, that could have been seconds. That meant the difference for Officer Duzel. Of course, it's a matter between life and death when you have a gunshot wound or are struck in the head. So him being so close could only benefit him in this situation. We're going to continue to stay right here and bring you the latest on his condition up at UC Memorial Hospital. In Colorado Springs, Crystal Story, KRDO News Channel 13.
Crystal, thanks. We want to talk more now about both the victim and the suspect. News Channel 13's Chase Golightly and Colleen Sikora are out in the field.
First to Chase for more on Officer Cem Duzel. And Chase, what can you tell us?
Dana, Officer Cem Duzel is a 5-year veteran with the Colorado Springs Police Department. Within that time, he's worked with their Cheyenne Creek Division as a patrol officer. Now, police haven't released a lot of information about the officer, but what we found online is that he was a very adventurous type, taking plenty of hiking trips throughout the state of Colorado, enjoying the beauty and splendor that the state has to offer with friends and family. He was also very close to his family, his mom, dad, and 2 siblings. We believe that they are originally from New York, and what we've heard from police is that the family is actually on their way down to Colorado Springs right now. We're not sure if they're in the area or perhaps at the hotel, but we're still waiting here on that. Lieutenant Black did say that they are waiting to give us more updates on his condition, and also the family would be willing to talk to us about the situation. Earlier, the family said that they would not like to do any interviews as of now, so we are respecting their privacy regarding this very matter and hoping that everything is okay. But we are still trying to find out more about the officer. But let's send it out to Colleen Sikora right now, who has more on the suspect that police say is involved in this shooting. Colleen?
Yeah, thanks, Chase. El Paso County Sheriff's Office has named Karrar Al Khammasi as the suspect who's believed to have pulled a handgun on Springs police and exchanged gunfire with them. I'd like to show you a photo of him now. This is the photo El Paso County Sheriff's Office released of Al Khammasi earlier today. We've been looking into his past through court records and his Facebook page to get an idea of who this man is. We found he has previous offenses, including assault and DUI. It also appears he served prison time for a trespassing charge. His Facebook page shows he's from Colorado Springs and still lives here. We did find a previous address for Al Khammasi. A neighbor who's lived next door for decades did recognize him. That neighbor says Al Khammasi was kicked out by the landlord of the basement he was renting about 4 or 5 years ago.
A lot of strange people coming and going.
Now, we also found Al Khammasi was involved in an altercation with police and charged with having a gun as a previous offender. We're continuing to look into that, but right now, El Paso County Sheriff's Office says Al Khammasi charges are pending for today's shooting. We'll keep you updated as we learn more. Live in Colorado Springs, Colleen Sikora, KRDO News Channel 13.
Well, we've already seen an active day with a number of severe thunderstorm warnings issued across southern Colorado. We will still continue to have a severe threat as we move through the next couple of hours. We'll track it coming up.
And you helped us tell the weather story yesterday. Now more images that you sent us during that powerful storm that pummeled southern Colorado.
Chaos at the zoo. Golf ball-sized hail wreaks havoc, killing 2 animals. What it's going to take to open up once again.
You're watching KRDO News Channel 13, where the news comes first. Your news starts right now.
Hail rocked Colorado Springs yesterday. Those hailstones large enough to do some serious damage, measuring larger than golf balls and smaller than baseballs. As one person was shooting video of what was going on outside, that happened.
Oh! Just busted my window! Holy crap!
Well, thanks for watching KRDO News Channel 13 at 5 o'clock. I'm Heather Skoll.
And I'm Bart Bedsole. We start with the headache many are facing today, the aftermath of those storms, and potentially more on the way.
We are tracking those storms yet again today. Our team all across the Pikes Peak region. Chief Meteorologist Stacey Garvilla kicks off our coverage, tracking what's going on now. Stacey?
Heather, thank you. We've already seen a pretty active day today. A number of severe thunderstorm warnings have been issued across southern Colorado, tracking some in the Pikes Peak region. Right now, we just have one severe thunderstorm. That continues. A warning continues until 5:15 this evening. For Los Animas County, a storm has been located just off to the south and southeast of Weston now for a good hour or so. Cities involved in the warning: Cokedale, Starkville, and Weston. This is for the potential for anywhere from quarter to ping pong ball size hail. We've had reports of some larger hail, but it is a little bit on a weakening trend now. This is tracking south and east at about 15 miles per hour. Across the Pikes Peak region, just a few remaining showers. We had a pretty strong thunderstorm earlier. Hail up to the size of ping pong balls. Then we saw much weaker conditions. You can see how things have been tracking for the past hour or so. On a weakening trend, we just see 2 different areas of a few showers. We've had a secondary shower come through the Woodland Park area just now, and that continues over the Waldo burn scar right now. Couple of showers near Beulah Valley and Rye. I just want to remind you, we have a severe thunderstorm watch that continues until 9 o'clock this evening for all counties in pink. And now would be a good time to download our Storm Tracker app so you can be ready the next time severe weather hits. You can find it on our Google Play and at the Apple Store.
Stacey, thanks. Today, many of you are just starting to assess the damage from yesterday's round as another one rolls in. News Channel 13's Stephanie Sierra is tracking the damage in the Broadmoor Bluffs area for us today. Stephanie.
Well, Bart, we're traveling west along Lake Avenue right now. We're actually close, just bordering the Stratton Meadows neighborhood, entering closer to the Broadmoor neighborhood. And if you notice, some nice sunshine we have on the roads there. It's illuminating, though, how wet it is. We really have seen a lot of water accumulate from those storms we had just about 30 minutes ago. And the overpass we're actually going under right now. About 15 different cars that took cover under there while that storm was going through this area out of fear that we could again see some of that strong hail we saw yesterday. But thankfully that wasn't the case. However, I was tracking just about nickel-sized hail in this area. But bottom line, just be careful as you head home if you are traveling into the Broadmoor area as we are right now, because we are seeing a lot of water accumulating on the side streets, and it is creating some of those backsplash concerns. But overall, it is quieting down now, but since we are still on a watch until 9 o'clock, we'll be keeping a close eye on it. We're live here in Colorado Springs. Stephanie Sierra, KRDO News Channel 13.
Nice to see that sunshine in that area. Steph, thank you. Today we are getting a grip of that devastating hail damage, however. You all helped us show just how bad the storm was as it was pounding neighborhood after neighborhood. Today, you're showing us what you're having to clean up today. KRDO News Channel 13's Dana Clemens compiled some of the most shocking pictures and videos from your cameras.
From Cripple Creek.
Big golf ball size hail coming down right now.
And Fountain.
Wow.
To Fort Carson.
It looks like snow.
People all over southern Colorado got pummeled by hail. It stayed small in some areas, but in others, like Fountain, the hailstones were as big as baseballs, or even bigger, almost covering the palm of this hand. Windows in cars and homes busted out. Entire neighborhoods battered. This is the Broadmoor Bluffs area seen from the sky. And this viewer shared what his brand new car looks like now. This was the car he just bought after his other 2 were destroyed in the June hailstorm. But it wasn't just property damage. People got hurt. This viewer was hit in the face and got a black eye. People at the zoo had to run for cover, the building they hid in shaking from the force of the hailstones. Despite the devastation, some people are trying to stay positive. This viewer saying it's a sign the Broncos season will be a good one after the hail destroyed everything on her car but the team's emblem. In Colorado Springs, Dana Clemens, KRDO News Channel 13.
Let's hope that's a sign of the season to come for the Broncos. You can share with us on the KRDO app or by email. Remember to shoot your videos or pictures holding your phone horizontally for a better view.
Good advice. When it's all said and done, this storm, combined with that other big one back in June, will cost upwards of $1 billion. One of those places hardest hit, Fort Carson this time around. News Channel 13's Colleen Sikora just got the damage tally from leaders at the post. Colleen?
Yeah, well, Bart, things are looking pretty nice here. We've got some sun shining on us after a small cell moved through. As you can see, it left a little bit of water on the roads and had a little bit of pea-sized hail along with it. But for right now, sunshine, and that hail was nothing in comparison to the baseball-sized hail the Mountain Post saw yesterday. Check this out. These cars we saw in the Gate 1 parking lot, windshields and hoods taking a beating from yesterday's storm. Fort Carson Garrison Commander Colonel Brian Wartninger says people were injured from the hail, adding his police, fire, and emergency services fleet took some hits from that hail as well, and some vehicles may even have to be replaced, saying virtually every person on post had some sort of damage. Wartninger compared the storm to an artillery barrage.
I was looking at a building earlier today. We had about 300 holes in the roof that were not there yesterday morning.
Wartninger says his public works department is working to assess the damage on post and total it up. Non-mission essential personnel were able to head home from the storm early today. They left at 2 p.m. to try and avoid any further damage from any storms that may roll through today. We're live just north of Fort Carson. Colleen Sikora, KRDO News Channel 13.
Colleen, thank you. And balls of ice fell from the sky yesterday, sending animals and humans at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo in Colorado Springs running for cover. Take a look at this video. A 13-year-old caped vulture named Motswari and a 4-year-old Muscovy duck known as Daisy were killed in the storm. A third animal, a vulture, was severely injured. Several people were also injured, with 5 of them taken to the hospital. The hail also shattered windows and damaged cars and buildings. KRDO News Channel 13's Crystal Story has the latest from the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, which was closed today while leaders assess the damage.
The next step for the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo is unclear. We know the damages left behind in last night's storm amounted to hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages. Now it's all about cleaning up and trying to move forward. Getting rid of all the dirt and debris is where the cleanup starts. The Cheyenne Mountain Zoo is still figuring out what to do after a hailstorm tore through its park Monday night. Cell phone video shows hail falling into an exhibit while visitors wait for the storm to pass. The president and CEO of the zoo say the damage left behind affected 4 major buildings. From the sky, helicopter video shows hole after hole pounded into the building's roof.
All of those skylights basically have been damaged to the point where we're having to clear those out now so that the animal exhibits underneath those can be have animals back in them safely.
We can't get inside the zoo. The gates are locked and will stay that way until it's safe enough for people like you and I to see exactly what kind of damage was left behind. There's plenty of mess outside the gates. The parking lot where hundreds of cars were left totaled is nowhere near cleaned up.
We have over 200 cars in the parking lot, and then we have another 70 to 80 cars, as I said earlier, in our employee parking lot. Just getting the volume of tow trucks here is problematic.
What's more problematic is waiting to see how long this mess will affect the zoo reopening and starting over. Now, of course, the biggest concern is the storm that is moving over the zoo tonight. All animals were put into secure shelter starting at 1 p.m. today. So now staff will just have to wait and see what more damage is left behind after tonight. At the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, Crystal Story, KRDO News Channel 13.
And on that note, the zoo just notified us minutes ago it will remain closed at least one more day. We'll continue keeping you updated on their progress in trying to reopen.
Up in smoke, a hellish situation for this home near that large wildfire that just isn't letting up.
They have had to back off to what we call their safety zones.
because the fire behavior is too intense.
We're live from that growing spring fire that already has forced hundreds to evacuate.
Unfortunately, fire danger concerns continue. We have red flag warnings already in place tomorrow. We'll let you know how the weekend looks coming up.
A 3-year-old is caught in the middle of a scary situation. The latest on a hostage situation that left a Colorado Springs neighborhood on edge.
Plus, money on the brain. The Colorado Springs mayor gives us his insights on the record campaign spending that has already soared past $25 million.
You're watching KRDO News Channel 13, where the news comes first. Your news starts right now.
And thanks for choosing News Channel 13 at 6 o'clock. I'm Bart Bedsole.
And I'm Heather Skold. Let's get right to our top story, the latest on the spring fire in Costilla County. It's burning west of Walsenburg between Fort Garland and Levita. And we want to show you a look at that fire from our Viera wireless camera. Still a large column of smoke pouring from that fire. It has burned more than 4,000 acres, and fire crews are still trying to get ahead of the fire line.
Take a look at this security camera footage of a home in Forbes Park. Pay attention to the upper right part of your screen. All of a sudden, the fire consumes that area, and the picture turns hot red. The fire then spreads quickly. It engulfs a nearby shed and that Jeep, destroying everything in its path before the black smoke and orange flames take over the screen and destroy that camera.
And KRDO News Channel 13's Crystal Story has been out there all day. She's live now in Costilla County with the latest on this fire. Crystal.
Yeah, Heather, it's been a hot and dry day here. This fire started just a little over 24 hours ago. I want to show you, we showed you those smoke plumes at 5 o'clock. Remember, they were on the right side. Now they've moved over to the left side. If you look quickly in some of these plumes, you see how dark they're burning. I've said this over and over again, but that means that they are actively burning something. A lot of the country where this is burning is tall pine trees. I had a resident, an evacuee, tell me that some of the trees around his home go up 75, 100 feet sometimes. Now, take a look at this fire action. Every time you see a black plume, like I said, go up, that means it's burning something. 1,500 people have been evacuated, and there are pre-evacuation orders for Huerfano County and Levita Pass. Now, fire crews told us today they're just being extra precautious in case the winds decide to move again.
We're sitting into a really long drought, so the fuels that are on the ground, whether they're live or dead, are extremely dry. And so that makes them very susceptible for things to burn.
Now, we do know that several structures have been destroyed in this fire, but we still don't know how many. Fire crews say they're still working, believe it or not, 24 hours later on getting people out. Some families have chosen to decide and stay behind, but they are still working to find everyone who is in those evacuation orders and urging them to get out because of how quickly this fire is moving. Now, right now, they can only do so much. I want to show you one last time this afternoon what these plumes look like. They're getting bigger and bigger. Starting tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., the State Incident Command Team is expected to take over bright and early 6 a.m. We'll get another briefing at 1 p.m. and we'll bring you the latest on what this fire brings us. Live in Costilla County, Crystal Story, KRDO News Channel 13.
Yeah, scary to hear that some families have chosen to stay behind. Crystal, thank you. We are as well tracking other fires burning across the state. One in Park County, about 15 acres in size. Right now, we will post all of the most recent information right here on the networks of KRDO. Also, you can be sure to download our KRDO News Channel 13 app, which is available on both Android and in the Apple Store.
You're watching KRDO News Channel 13, where the news comes first. Your news starts right now.
And thanks for choosing News Channel 13 at 6 o'clock. I'm Bart Bedsole.
And I'm Heather Skold. You can also listen to us live on KRDO News Radio. Let's get right to those wildfires. Our news team is out at several fires today. We have Casey Kirshner in Levita and Colleen Secor in Pueblo County.
Pueblo County seeing its share of evacuations at this hour as the Stonemoor fire continues to burn west of Pueblo. Look at this dark, heavy smoke in the area. That fire has burned at least 137 acres. It was 0% contained at last report. And people are scrambling over in Teller County. Here's a live look at the High Chateau fire.
But first, it's a fire that just won't let up. The spring fire in Costilla County has exploded in size. We want to show you a look from our weather camera from earlier today. We want to show you a time lapse
From that fire seen from Levita in Huerfano County, the smoke intensifies for about an hour in that video, taking over the whole picture, making the scene a very gloomy gray. And we just learned more people are now under mandatory evacuations in the Karrar area.
Let's get right out to News Channel 13's Casey Kirshner, who is live on the west side of Levita with the latest about the challenges crews face in this fight. Casey.
You can see that smoke plume there behind me. It's actually seemed to have calmed down just in the last hour. It's not looking quite as dark and thick as it was, so that's good news. But while we're out here, we did want to show you kind of what the conditions are that fire crews are working with. Right now I'm standing here in this dry brown grass. You can really see just how dry the foliage is in this area that's obviously fueling that fire. And we did just learn that the community of Karrar, just south of where we're standing right now, is under evacuation tonight. Now, Huerfano emergency officials have issued mandatory evacuations for Tres Valles, Paradise Acres, Raspberry Mountain, Pine Haven, and Karrar Valley. Now, people in that area can go either north or south on Highway 12, and they have to be out before, basically they have an hour left to get out before that highway is completely shut down. Now, fire crews continue to battle the wind in this area, making it tough for firefighters to get a good handle on this fire. The spring fire is still listed at 0% containment. This is obviously a very scary time for many people in this community, but tonight they want to send their thoughts to the fire crews on the front lines.
Really appreciate your work. Stay safe. We'll do anything to accommodate them, the town of Levita.
Thank you so much for all the help, I mean, they're working their tails off right now, and there's so many fires in New Mexico and Colorado that they're stretched so thin.
Right now, we do know that several structures have been lost in this fire, but we aren't sure exactly how many yet. Now, a public meeting did just start over at Levita High School. For anyone looking for more information on this, we are going to stop by there in just a few minutes and see what that situation looks like. For now, live in Levita, Casey Kirshner, KRDO News Channel 13.
It's like a matchbox behind you, Casey. Thanks. We are also tracking the High Chateau fire in Teller County at 6. Here's a live look. This one burning just south of Florissant right now. So far, it's estimated at 106 acres. KRDO News Channel 13's Scott Harrison has the latest on that one.
As the fire in the 4-mile community of Teller County continued to burn, neighbors hope that clouds that have moved in to mix with the smoke plume would bring some much needed rain to the area. It doesn't get the holiday weekend off to a good start. The early part of a wildfire is often the most tense. People are trying to evacuate safely in time, while other people are trying to get back in, save animals, and take care of people who are disabled or elderly and can't get out quickly on their own. Next to putting the fire out, the top priority for authorities is safety. But in the heat of the moment, some neighbors don't agree with that.
I understand that, but there's an elderly lady back there. She's over 80 years old and she can't drive, and I gotta get her and 10 dogs.
And then there's another part of the fire that raises people's anxiety, the waiting to see where the fire's going and whether their property is going to be burned by it.
Pretty worried. We all have animals back there and they just turned us around. We went on pre-evacuation, and then evacuation pretty quick after that. And so we couldn't make it back from Walmart.
Authorities have been so busy fighting this fire and making sure that people are safe that they haven't put out much information about the fire. When we get it, we'll pass it along to you. In Teller County, Scott Harrison, KRDO News Channel 13.
And now to that fire burning west of Pueblo, the Stonemoor fire, not far from Lake Pueblo. It is now listed at 137 acres, and it's forcing people nearby to evacuate. Highway 96 is closed between Goodnight and Red Springs Road. KRDO News Channel 13's Colleen Sikora is live tonight on the east side of that roadblock. She's monitoring the fire's progress. Colleen.
Yeah, Heather, the wind has been pretty constant here in Pueblo, and as you can see, it's blowing the smoke off of the Stonemoor fire here in Pueblo County. That gray-white smoke is sticking kind of close to the ground, but it's also moving off into the sky as well. Over the course of our time here, we've seen periods of gray-white smoke mixed in with dark black plumes. The Pueblo County Sheriff's Office says multiple agencies are assisting them in fighting the fire. Heather, as you said, the fire is estimated as 137 acres with no containment right now. Residents who live in the Stonemore Hills neighborhood say they had to evacuate quickly following a power surge.
It was scary, a lot of smoke. Flames were taller than me, some of them. The wind blowing them right towards us, all around the houses. We don't have any fire hydrants up there, so they have to bring the pumper trucks up.
Currently, only 9 homes in the Stonemore Hills neighborhood have had to evacuate. The sheriff's office says the West Park and Regency neighborhoods near the fire are not at risk, but several neighbors have told us they're preparing just in case the fire grows towards them. Now, we don't know what started the fire or if any structures have burned. We'll be sure to ask the Pueblo County Sheriff's Office that information. So stick with KRDO News Channel 13 for the latest on the Stonemore fire. We're live in Pueblo County. Colleen Sikora, KRDO News Channel 13.
All right, Colleen, thanks. Turning now to the heat and dry conditions helping to fuel all these fires. A cool down is coming, but not everyone will get the rain we need. Chief Meteorologist Stacy Garville is tracking some weekend storms. Stacy.
We are expecting showers and thunderstorms to move in tomorrow, not necessarily going to move over some of the areas that are experiencing fires. Right now, that live view from Alamosa, you can see that fire still ongoing and the camera shaking as we're tracking those gusty winds. Gusts into the 20s and 30s in places like Pueblo right now, Trinidad, Lamar, you're gusting to 66 miles per hour, but that's actually due to some thunderstorm winds right now.
7 homes and more than 1,000 acres burned, but the community is hearing about hope on the horizon.
We're having a good day today, so.
We have the latest on the High Chateau fire burning in Teller County.
For the first time since it started almost a week ago, we get a tour of the spring fire burn scar along Highway 60 in Costilla and Huerfano counties. See how hot and fast this fire is burning on the ground and in the air.
We'll be seeing lesser fire danger over the next several days. I'll let you know why that is coming up.
And finally, we know the fate of this man, Glenn Galloway. A jury decides between life and death in this high-profile murder case.
You're watching KRDO News Channel 13, where the news comes first. Your news starts right now.
Choosing News Channel 13 at 6 o'clock. I'm Bart Bedsole.
And I'm Heather Skold. We're also live on KRDO News Radio. We are focusing on 2 major fires from the newsroom and out in the field. The High Chateau fire is burning in Teller County. The spring fire in Costilla and Huerfano counties. We want to show you some video taken from a C-130 flying over the spring fire. That wildfire has already exploded to more than 79,000 acres, with more than 700 people fighting that fire. This morning, the lights went out in the Cachara area and parts of Major's Ranch to allow firefighters to work in the area. Once things settle down, the San Isabel Electric Company will begin the rebuilding process.
We are also learning more about the fire burning right now in Teller County. The High Chateau fire is now at 1,392 acres. Not much change since yesterday. And more good news, it's listed as 15% contained today, up from 0 at this time yesterday. We've also learned 7 structures were lost, including homes in Teller County. Here's a live look at both fires. The spring fire on your right, the High Chateau fire on your left. We have team coverage today. Scott Harrison is in Costilla County covering the spring fire. But first to Casey Kirshner in Teller County with the latest there. Casey?
We were here at the community meeting today, and they announced that 7 homes have been lost in addition to several other structures in this area. Now, we want to show you brand new video that we took today. You can see some of the air support on that fire. The sheriff says he's speaking to each of the families, though, that lost their home directly. Today, he was able to get in touch with 6 out of the 7 families. The focus of the firefight today was building hand and dozer lines, securing structures, and attacking areas of increased fire activity. At last check, nearly 400 fire personnel are battling that fire with help from 9 helicopters in the area. Sheriff's Office also told us that they will start running a pilot car along Teller 1 that connects Florissant to Cripple Creek so that people will be able to get through there. They may also set up a similar pilot car situation on Teller 11 tomorrow. Now, we do have some cloud cover today, but the weather is creating some concerns as well.
We're cautiously optimistic that we're going to continue to make progress, but the one thing that tempers that optimism is due largely in part to what's sitting over our heads right now. If all that comes out of that is 40-mile-an-hour gusts, My optimism will be much, I'll have concerns.
A community assistance center is being set up at Summit Elementary School in Divide for anyone looking for assisting agencies like the Red Cross. It will open up on Thursday. Evacuated residents will also be able to pick up passes there to get them back to their homes once evacuations are lifted. We also want to mention that Teller County moved from a stage 2 fire ban today to a stage 3 fire ban, so no outdoor burning and also no outdoor shooting. Also important to keep in mind there, and they are actively enforcing that as well, going out writing tickets for anyone who's breaking those laws. Live in Teller County, Casey Kirshner, KRDO News Channel 13.
Casey, thanks. Those 400 first responders over in Teller County battling the Chateau fire are accepting donations at the Teller County Sheriff's Office. There's also a need for help for evacuated animals in the area. We have a list of items and where to drop them off. Just head over to KRDO.com and look for the link near the top of the page.
The fears of a fire reaching your community is one many of us in Colorado can relate to, especially those in Woodland Park who are close to where the High Chateau fire is burning. KRDO News Channel 13's Alexis Dominguez spoke to neighbors who say they are feeling the heat.
Elston Zander lives surrounded by these trees in Woodland Park. It's serene and remote, but
any of these huge fires can spread so quickly.
And with the High Chateau fire growing, he's afraid it can only get closer to home.
When there's a big fire near, first thing you think about, of course, is your family and your home.
He's not alone. Gary Schwenka says that fear comes with the territory of living in the forest.
Of course, we're always on alert here.
People here in Woodland Park say it's important to do fire mitigation, like cutting down dry trees to make sure the fire doesn't reach them.
I just had my yard raked up, get all the pine needles and stuff, and Herman, my neighbor, does the same thing. So a lot of neighbors do that. I hired a guy to do it for me.
Others like Bernard Place, who have been through both the Hayman and Waldo Canyon fires, believe the firemen will get it under control before it becomes a threat.
The reason we live here is because of the trees, so it's part of living here. This year with this terrible drought, it makes it a little more dicey.
They can only hope Mother Nature is on their side. In Woodland Park, Alexis Dominguez, KRDO News Channel 13.
Many of those neighbors say they already have plans in place just in case evacuations reach their community.
On to another fire that has already destroyed more than 100 homes and burned close to 80,000 acres. Take a look at this time lapse of the spring fire from the Colorado State Patrol. Firefighters continue battling the flames, but it's only 5% contained tonight. News Channel 13's Scott Harrison is live near the fire zone where authorities provided what we and many of you have been very curious about for the last 6 days. Scott?
Well, Bart, good news. We can see some rain falling to the west of us. Let's hope it makes it over here to the fire where it's really needed. Now, from 2 to 4 this afternoon, authorities took us and other media on a tour of part of the fire area, and smoke plumes continued to rise high above the horizon here with no sign of decreasing. This is what's hidden by thick smoke and the closure of Highway 160 and Levita Pass, linking Huerfano County with Costilla County, a wasteland that reminds many of us of the Hayman, Waldo Canyon, and Black Forest fires. Before heading out on this fire tour, we had to wear what the firefighters wear: PPE, personal protective equipment, shirt and pants. They're not fireproof, but they are somewhat fire and heat resistant. And if that decides to get unpredictable and head towards us, we want to be ready. With this kind of damage on rough terrain, it's no wonder containing this fire is difficult for firefighters.
There's a lot of standing dead beetle kill, and that's a problem in the state of Colorado, a lot of beetle kill, and it burns really, really well. It's a very susceptible fuel. So not only is the fire behavior aggressive in that area because of that, but that particular terrain has a lot of narrow canyons.
The personality, if you will, of this fire has surprised even veteran firefighters who are familiar with the area.
We've seen more and more of unprecedented fire behavior, is what our fire behavior analysts tell us. And so that puts us on edge. It needs to be recognized.
Firefighters are hoping for a break in the weather to keep damage like this to a minimum. Now, for safety and confidentiality reasons, we were not taken to live fire areas or to places where homes were destroyed, but we've shown you enough to learn what firefighters are dealing with and what damage is still possible until this fire gets contained. We're live in Costilla County. Scott Harrison, KRDO News Channel 13.
Scott, thank you. And now you've seen the destruction from the ground. Now we want to show you a look from above. The view from a helicopter showing us just how widespread the damage is from the spring fire.
From the air, the magnitude of the destruction is clear. Peaks and valleys covered in a blanket of smoke. This dragon, called the Spring Fire, leaving behind its victims, 104 homes in the Forbes Park neighborhood, they're now ash. Dozens like this home still stand despite being surrounded. To stay alive, the fire has to find new fuels to feed off of, and there are plenty here. Red stains of fire retardant have slowed the fire, and there's a constant air assault. But even so, water drops seem small up against this massive blaze.
And again, the man accused of starting the spring fire, Jesper Jorgensen, is due in court next week.
Tonight, we're also taking a look at the cost of containing all these wildfires, and they are quickly adding up. Here are the latest numbers. The Chateau fire, the High Chateau fire, is at $900,000. The Weston Pass fire has cost $1.3 million. The Sugarloaf fire, $173,000, and the Burrow fire has already cost more than $2.8 million. $27.8 million is what's being reported for the cost of the 416 fire. The spring fire is currently at $6.5 million. That will likely rise considerably. So in total, that means more than $39.5 million has already been spent to fight these fires.
And let's shift over to weather. We want to show you a live look at Kim over in Los Animas County, where they saw some showers. You can see some clouds hanging above the ground there, but will any of that moisture make it to the ground? Let's get the answer to that from meteorologist Katie Donovan. Katie?
Yeah, thanks so much, Heather. We were seeing rain making it to the ground there earlier. That has since faded away. We're seeing really just cloud cover in that area right now.